Hi, my name's Matt Fryar. I'm a partner with the law firm of Crouch, Harwell, Fryar & Ferner in Springdale, Arkansas. In this series of videos about estate planning, we've already covered a lot of ground. We've talked about what probate is. We've discussed what a beneficiary designation is and what a will is. This video is going to introduce the topic of a trust, which will be discussed in greater detail over a number of other videos. Generally, a trust is a tool that an estate planning attorney can use to help you manage your assets and property both during your life and after your death. You can think of it as a receptacle. Now, the type of receptacle depends on the type of trust that we're talking about, and in future videos, you're going to hear me talk about how a revocable trust is like a bucket, and how an irrevocable trust is like a treasure chest. But for now, let's just go with the general idea of a receptacle. You're going to put your assets into this receptacle, and those assets might be a house, it might be bank accounts or investment accounts or life insurance proceeds. And you might put all of your assets into a certain type of receptacle, or depending on your needs, you might spread those assets out between different types of trusts to meet different goals that you have for different kinds of assets. So think of a trust as a receptacle that holds your property and comes with an instruction sheet. And you get to create the instructions for what happens to the stuff that is in that receptacle. Depending on the type of trust it is, you might decide how property is spent during your life. You might be directing how property is distributed upon your death. So, as a general introduction to what is a trust, I want you to think of it as an empty container. And I want you to think of it as a set of instructions as to what happens to the things you put in that empty container. Now, as I mentioned before, in future videos, we're going to talk about revocable trusts, or what some people call living trusts. We're also going to talk about irrevocable trusts and how they can be useful in planning for future needs, not only death, but also possibly the cost and expense of nursing home care. We're going to talk about special needs trusts and the different types of special needs trusts that exist. And we're even going to cover something called a Miller Trust, which is very unique to the world of Medicaid planning and making sure that you are qualified for Medicaid if you have to go into a nursing home. So stay tuned for those videos. Be excited about talking about trusts. I always get excited to talk about trusts, and we'll do that soon. Thank you. Have a good evening.